Hi dear students, welcome to Ardent MDS. The topic what we are going to say about drugs for hypertension. Let's start with what is hypertension. According to Joint National Committee 8, if the systolic BP is more than 140 or if the diastolic BP is more than 90, equal or more than 90. Okay, so this is not and this is or. Either the patient is having more than 140 systolic BP or more than 90 diastolic BP, they considered as a hypertensive patient. So then what is normal blood pressure? The normal value is 120 by 80. Every student know this, right? So what is in between then? Hypertension is 140. Normal blood pressure is 120. So what is in between? This in between blood pressure is called as pre-hypertensive state. Pre-hypertensive. Right. Again, this hypertensive patient which graded into two things. So number one, grade 1 hypertension and number 2, grade 2 hypertension. Grade 1 hypertension is 140 to 159 of systolic BP, 90 to 99 is the diastolic BP, that is grade 1. Grade 2 is if the patient is having more than 160 of systolic BP or more than 100 of diastolic BP, they consider as grade 2 hypertension. Right, how to remember this? It's very easy. So the systolic blood pressure, normal blood pressure is 120, plus 20 is 140, plus 20 is 160. So how to add 20 to systolic blood pressure and 10 to diastolic blood pressure. Normal is 80, 80 plus 10, 90 hypertension, and 90 plus 10, 100, that is grade 1 hypertension. So this is the way you can remember. Whenever you read these type of numerical values, you have to be interrelate with some other disease. Okay, like for an example, when you say the patient is having diabetic, what is the fasting level in case of diabetic patient? If the fasting blood glucose level more than 126 or postprandial more than 200 or HbA1c more than 6.5. Okay, this is the value for a diabetic patient. What is the normal prothrombin time? Right, 12 to 16 seconds, average of 15 seconds. What is partial thromboplastin time? 26 to 32 seconds, right? So these type of numerical values you have to be interrelate, like bleeding time, clotting time, everything. If you read one thing, just interrelate it with other associated numerical values, so that retrieval is very easy for you. You can get more marks without any mistakes. Right. How do you treat these patients of hypertension? Very easy. Try to understand the concept behind this pathophysiology. Then you can remember the drug's name and how it works. All these are very easy. So if you understand the basic. So blood pressure is measured by cardiac output into peripheral resistance. Right. So either increase in cardiac output or increase in peripheral resistance increase the blood pressure. Right. So what is the peripheral resistance? Or what is the, first of all you have to know what is called as blood pressure. So blood pressure is nothing but the pressure which exerted on the walls of the blood vessel, which is called as blood pressure. The pressure which exerted on the walls of the blood vessel, which is called as blood pressure. So if the walls are rigid, okay, and it will get more resistance, right? If it is some elastic, just go away, so the resistance was decreased. So that's why in aged patient the walls are rigid because of the salt deposits, sodium deposits. So that's why aged patient will get more hypertension than your young patient, right? So because of the salt, peripheral resistance is increased. And what about the reason for increased cardiac output? increased water content, which leads to the increased blood content, which leads to the increased cardiac output, right? So either in increased water or increased sodium, which leads to the increased blood pressure. So this is the way you can treat the patients of hypertension, right? How do you decrease the cardiac output? How do you decrease the peripheral resistance? If you decrease these two things, hypertension problem is solved, right? How do you decrease the cardiac output? Let's see. The first mechanism is about diuretics. There are four important mechanisms to treat the patients of hypertension. Number one, diuretics, which makes the increased urinary output, so cardiac output will be decreased, so blood pressure is decreased. So along with it also makes the sodium excretion, because the more sodium is excreted, again the peripheral resistance is decreased, blood pressure is decreased. So diuretics is one of the treatment option for treating the hypertension. Number one, two, vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction increase the blood pressure, a simple concept. So by giving the vasodilator, you can treat the patients of hypertension, right? So the peripheral resistance is decreased by giving the vasodilator. The third type of treatment is about sympathoplegics or sympatholytics. What is the meaning of plegia? Plegia means paralysis. Means sympathoplegic means those drugs which decrease the sympathetic activity. Sympathetic system which increases the blood pressure. So sympatholytic drugs are sympathoplegics which decrease the blood pressure. So this is the third type. And number four, which is very important, many times they ask MCQ related to this topic for us. Renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So renin angiotensin aldosterone system again which increases the blood pressure. So blocking this renin angiotensin aldosterone system which decreases the blood pressure. This is the concept. So there are four ways. Number one, diuretics. Number two, vasodilator. Number three, sympathoplegics. And number four, the drugs which blocking the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Clear? Now coming to the diuretics. What I told you, diuretics which increase the excretion of sodium and water, so decrease the cardiac output and peripheral resistance, so it is used for the treating blood pressure. What are the various type of diuretics used for hypertension? There are two types. Number one, loop diuretics, and number two, thiazide diuretics. Which is the strong one? Loop diuretics are strong diuretic, but it is a short acting diuretic. Thiazide diuretics are weak diuretic, but it is a long acting diuretics. So which is the preferable for mild to moderate hypertension? Most commonly used is thiazide diuretics, right? In case of only severe hypertension, loop diuretics are advisable. In case of a severe hypertension, loop diuretics are advised. Apart from this, you have one more diuretics which is called as indapamide. Indapamide is nothing but it is a thiazide-like diuretics which the patient have hypertension associated with gout. So these are the three important diuretics used for treating the hypertension. The second category of drugs are sympathoplegics. So before we enter into the sympathoplegics, we have to know there's some basic things about sympathoplegics or sympatholytics, right? So for an about, we studied in ANS the preganglionic fibers which arises from thoracolumbar of the spinal cord, and it goes to one area from where this postganglionic fibers arise. It supplies for the nerves and muscles and organ. So this junction where the preganglionic fibers and postganglionic fibers meet, which is called as ganglion. So how do you treat the patient or hypertension by giving the sympathoplegics? Number one, you can block the ganglion. By blocking the ganglion, you can inhibit the transmission of sympathetic system. So these are called as ganglionic blockers. So this is one way of sympathoplegics. Second way, The important neurotransmitter of sympathetic system is noradrenaline and along with adrenaline also. But the major is about noradrenaline. So those noradrenaline which are released in the synapse which act on the alpha 1 or beta 1 receptors mainly, but there are few receptors which present here. So this is what called as presynaptic receptors. This is very important. Presynaptic receptors we study. I explained this very well in my ANS video. So if you want more clearance, just go there and read about what is presynaptic. Right. So generally this noradrenaline which act on the postsynaptic receptors, it increases the sympathetic activity. But if the noradrenaline act on the beta alpha 2 receptors, that alpha 2 receptors are presynaptic in nature. If it acts on the presynaptic receptors, it acts like a brake. It decreases the sympathetic activity. Instead of it increases, it decreases. Same noradrenaline which acts in two way. If it is a postsynaptic, it increases. If it acts on the presynaptic, it decreases. That's it, very clear. So alpha 2 is presynaptic receptors. So I want to control the sympathetic system. So what I can do? I can increase the alpha 2 activities because alpha 2 decrease the sympathetic. Alpha 1, beta 1, all this, or beta 2, all this, what it causes? It accelerates the sympathetic system. So I have to inhibit the postsynaptic receptors. So inhibiting the postsynaptic receptors by giving the alpha blocker or beta blocker. So this is the, or both alpha and beta blocker. This is the second way to go for sympathoplegics. What is the third way? Third way is about activate the alpha 2 receptors. So we can go for something called as alpha 2 agonist. So this is the third way to go for sympathoplegics. There is one more way. So that is the sympathetic receptor, sympathetic neurotransmitter, which is a noradrenaline, right? The noradrenaline which is synthesized from the dopamine. Initially this dopamine enters into the vesicle, and inside the vesicle noradrenaline is synthesized. There are few drugs which inhibiting the vesicular uptake. So one among the drug is reserpine. Reserpine which inhibiting the intake of dopamine into the vesicles. So by giving the reserpine you can decrease the synthesis of noradrenaline. By decreasing the synthesis of noradrenaline you can decrease the sympathetic activity. Clear? But reserpine is not used nowadays. Why? The reason is reserpine not only inhibiting the uptake of dopamine, it also inhibiting the uptake of serotonin. What is the importance of serotonin? Serotonin is a good mood stabilizer. So those patients who does not have serotonin, so though they have more tendency for suicide, so which increases the suicidal tendency. That's why serotonin blockers, reserpine is not at all used nowadays. So suppose in case if you go to some psychiatrist for a depression problem, okay, if it is a mild one, so the doctor or psychiatrist advised to take some popcorn, okay, or some dark chocolates. Okay, so this is a very simple remedy. Okay, so why this psychiatrist advised to take popcorn or dark chocolate? There is a reason. This popcorn or dark chocolate which contains more of serotonin, this serotonin which increases the, which makes the particular person to come out of the depression. Right. So there are four important ways to decrease the sympathetic activity. One is a ganglionic blocker. The second is about alpha 2 agonist. Third is about alpha plus beta blocker. Fourth is about reserpine. Right. Coming to the ganglionic blocker. Example for the ganglionic blocker are trimethoprim and hexamethonium. Trimethoprim and hexamethonium. Don't confuse trimethoprim with trimethoprim. Trimethoprim is studied in antimicrobial drug. This trimethoprim and hexamethonium which just act as a ganglionic blocker, mean it inhibits the junction between the two nerves. So this area which is called as junction of two N, that is N receptors. So, and these drugs which also used for antidote for nicotine poisoning. And this is an MCQ. Which drug is used for nicotine poisoning antidote? Trimethoprim and hexamethonium. So the second category of drugs is drugs which inhibiting the central sympathetic outflow or presynaptic activators or alpha 2 agonist. Example for this is clonidine and methyl dopa, the two important drugs. Clonidine which works effectively in patients of hypertension, but the only problem with clonidine is if you suddenly withdraw the clonidine, the patient may go for rebound hypertension. But methyl dopa which causes hemolytic anemia in some patients. Okay, but methyl dopa is a safer drug in pregnancy, and both the drugs which causes dry mouth and sedation are the important adverse effect of these drugs. Example for adenosine receptor antagonist are number 1 alpha blocker, number 2 beta blocker, and number 3 alpha plus beta blocker. Example for alpha and beta blocker is labetalol and carvedilol. Right. Next group of drug is about vasodilators. So vasoconstriction increases the blood pressure, so vasodilators decrease the blood pressure. What are various types of vasodilators used in hypertension? Number 1 potassium channel opener. Number 2 nitric oxide releases. Right. Number 3 dopamine agonist. And number 4 calcium channel blockers. These are the 4 kind of drugs. Let's see one by one. Potassium channel opener. Example for this is minoxidil. Number 1. Number 2 hydralazine. Number 3 diazoxide. So what are the important MCQs related to this? Minoxidil is one of the familiar drug which is used for the hair growth in alopecia. So because of this reason, minoxidil is contraindicated in young adult females because it causes hirsutism in young adult females. And minoxidil is a prodrug, it is metabolized into minoxidil sulfate. Coming to the second one, hydralazine. Hydralazine is one of the drug metabolized by acetylation reaction. So we studied a mnemonic for this, the drug which metabolized by acetylation reaction. One of the frequently asked question, what are those drugs metabolized by acetylation reaction except S for sulfonamide, H for hydralazine, I for isoniazide, P for procainamide. And all those drugs which are metabolized by acetylation reaction also causes systemic lupus erythematosus. Diazoxide is one of the potassium channel opener which decreases the release of insulin. Because it decreases the release of insulin, you can use it for cases of insulinoma where there is more secretion of insulin, but it is contraindicated in a diabetic patient because it decreases the release of insulin. Coming to the next one, nitric oxide releases. There are 2 important drugs here, that is number 1 sodium nitroprusside and number 2 hydralazine. So hydralazine will come in both category. So then you may get a question like which potassium channel opener also releases nitric oxide? Answer is hydralazine. So coming to the sodium nitroprusside which releases nitric oxide which in turn releases cyclic GMP by stimulating an enzyme called as guanyl cyclase. So it is an indirect mechanism. So this cyclic GMP which acts as a vasodilator, and sodium nitroprusside is short acting drug. It is not a slow acting drug. Some students will confuse slow acting and short acting drug. It is just short acting drug. So the sodium nitroprusside have to be given continuous intravenous infusion For this, we have a special type of instrument called as micro drip set, right? And this sodium nitroprusside, which is given for hypotensive emergency cases, hypertensive emergencies. Long term or prolonged intake of sodium nitroprusside, which leads to the cyanide poisoning. What is the antidote for cyanide poisoning? One of the frequently asked question, hydroxycobalamin. So these are important MCQs related to the nitric oxide releases. The third is about dopamine agonist. Example for this is phenyldopa, as the name itself has dopa with it. So it act on D1 receptors, D1 agonist. So which causes vasodilatation, especially in the renal blood vessels. So in case of a renal failure patient, you can use this phenyldopam, especially for a hypertension. The next category is about calcium channel blockers. The calcium channel blockers which inhibit L type of calcium channels, which is used in hypertension. Do you remember anywhere we studied about calcium channel blockers which inhibit T type calcium channels? Yes, we studied anti-epileptic drugs. That's great. So there are few anti-epileptic drugs which inhibiting the T type calcium channel blockers. Can you able to tell the name of this? Yes, VEL, valproate, ethosuximide, lamotrigine. Great. Coming to the L-type calcium channels, example for L-type calcium channel is number 1, verapamil, number 2, diltiazem, and number 3, dihydropyridine. So dihydropyridine is nothing but like a drugs, nifedipine, nicardipine, amlodipine will come under the category of dihydropyridine. So these type of calcium channel blockers also act as vasodilators. So with that we studied about 4 kinds of vasodilators. So what are those 4 kinds? Number 1, calcium channel blockers. Number 2, dopamine agonist. Number 3, nitric oxide releases. Number 4, potassium channel openers. Coming to the next mechanism, which is called renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So one of the very frequently asked question for us. So where this renin is released? Some basic things. Renin is released from the kidney. So there is a beta 1 receptor which releases renin. What is the function of this renin? This renin which converts angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Renin which converts angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. First step. This angiotensin 1 which is converted into angiotensin 2, which is the active form, by the help of an enzyme called as ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme. This angiotensin is the final product in renin angiotensin aldosterone. This angiotensin 2 either directly act as a vasoconstrictor, number 1. Number 2, it releases aldosterone. What does this aldosterone do? Aldosterone which reabsorb sodium and water. So if the aldosterone reabsorbs sodium and water content will be increased, which in turn increase the cardiac output, which in turn increase the blood pressure. So renin angiotensin aldosterone system basically which increases the blood pressure. So we have to block this, and this also releases adrenaline and noradrenaline, right? So basically where you can block these steps to decrease the overall renin angiotensin aldosterone system activity. Number 1, you can block here by giving a drug called as beta 1 blocker. This is the first one. Second, you can inhibiting the renin. By inhibiting the beta 1 blocker, you can inhibit the release of renin, and you can directly block the renin inhibitor. Third one is about ACE inhibitor, angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor. The fourth is about Fourth is about angiotensin 2 receptor blocker. So angiotensin 2 is released, but blocking the receptor where it acts decrease the activity of renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Fifth is about aldosterone blocker. So these are the various steps to decrease the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So the first step is about beta 1 blocker which inhibit the release of renin. Second is about directly inhibit the renin inhibitor. Third is about AC inhibitor. Fourth is about angiotensin receptor blocker, and fifth is about aldosterone blocker. Clear? We'll see one by one now. The first system is about renin inhibitors. Example for the renin inhibitors are number 1 aliskiren, number 1, number 2 remikiren, and number 3 enalkiren, and number 4. The first system is about renin inhibitors. Example for renin inhibitors are number 1 aliskiren, number 2 remikiren, number 3 enalkiren. So if you see all the drugs which end with kiran. So ren means you can remember as renin. So these are all renin inhibitors and all the drugs which is given by the oral form. So this is the first one. So next category of drug is about angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. So those drugs which inhibit the conversion of angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. So those drugs are captopril, lisinopril, enalapril, ramipril, perindopril, posinopril. Most of the drug or all the drug end with pril. Among this, the longest acting is perindopril, the shortest acting is captopril. All these drugs are prodrugs except captopril and lisinopril, which are not a prodrugs. One of the frequently asked multiple choice question. What are the adverse effects of AC inhibitors? Just remember the name of the captopril as a mnemonic for the adverse effects. C for cough. The most important adverse effect for the AC inhibitor is cough, that too dry cough. The reason for the dry cough is accumulation of bradykinin, which is asked in one of the recent exam. So why the bradykinin is accumulated? So that ACE, which is also, that is angiotensin converting enzyme, is also responsible for the breakdown of bradykinin. So because you are inhibiting the ACE, bradykinin is not metabolized, so it is accumulate, which leads to the dry cough. And A for angioedema. P for all the AC inhibitors are prodrugs except captopril and lisinopril. And T for taste disturbance. Taste disturbance is nothing but otherwise called as dysgeusia. And O for orthostatic hypotension, especially when the AC inhibitors are associated with diuretics. P for pregnancy, it is contraindicated in pregnancy. And R for renal artery stenosis, so it is contraindicated in renal failure. So if you give for a renal failure patient, it causes renal artery stenosis. I for increased potassium. So hyperkalemia it causes. Number L for lowers the angiotensin 2. So these are the various adverse effects of angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. Right, coming to the next group of drugs, that is angiotensin receptor blocker. This is losartan, valsartan, irbesartan, candicertan, telmisartan, and eprosartan. Right, so all the drugs which end with sartan, I can remember basically like this. Among this, which is the longest acting and which is the shortest acting. So the longest acting drug is about telmisartan. Telmisartan is the longest acting. Eprosartan is the shortest acting. This is number one. Number two, what are the adverse effects of angiotensin receptor blocker? The angiotensin 2 is released, but it does not act on the receptors. Okay, so the adverse effect of angiotensin receptor blocker is same as angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors except cough, which is less associated with angiotensin receptor blocker. The last group of drugs, which is aldosterone antagonist in RAAS. Example for aldosterone antagonist are spironolactone and eplerenone are the two drugs which are example for the aldosterone antagonist, because aldosterone which inhibits the sodium and water reabsorption by giving these type of drugs which decreasing the sodium and water retention. So these are the various categories of drugs which we block to inhibit the renin angiotensin aldosterone system, right? So coming to the Joint National Committee 8 guidelines for the hypertension, given a guideline value of hypertension, which is we discussed in the earlier part of the discussion. 140/90 is the cutoff value for the hypertension, right? And basically they give you two type of treatment. One is drugs, other one is a lifestyle modification. The lifestyle modification is nothing but diet and exercise. Which type of diet? Sodium restricted diet and exercise. Coming to the drugs, there are few drugs which are used here as a first line antihypertensive drugs. Example for this is angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, number one. Number two, calcium channel blockers. Number three, diuretics. Which type of diuretics? Yes, thiazide type of diuretics. These are all indicated when there is no compelling indication. No compelling indication. What is the meaning of no compelling indication? If the problem does not associated with any other systemic disease. So this is the first line drugs. Hypertension in pregnancy. What other drugs are used? So here I just give you some mnemonic for you. Better mother care during hypertensive pregnancy. So during pregnancy, I have to take care of the mother. So B for beta blocker, M for methyl dopa, and C for clonidine, D for dihydropyridine calcium channel blockers. Dihydropyridine. What is this dihydropyridine calcium channel blockers? Nifedipine, amlodipine, nicardipine, all this will come under dihydropyridine calcium channel blockers. Hypertensive, hydralazine. And the last one, P for prazosin. These are the better drugs you can give during the pregnancy. Till now what we studied about the drugs which is for the hypertension, which is given in a single part as an ardent flash. Let's start with, so we have a four colors, right? So green color, a pink color, and blue color, and something like a brown color, right? So the first is about diuretics. The second category of drug is sympathoplegics. Third category is about vasodilator, and the fourth category is the drugs which inhibiting renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Only these four kind of drugs are used for hypertension. Coming to the diuretics, the best one is about thiazides. For a first line drugs, mild to moderate hypertension. In case of a severe, we can go for a loop diuretics. Second category of drugs is sympathoplegics, decrease the sympathetic activity. Four type of drugs, that is central sympathetic outflow inhibitors, that is alpha 2 agonist. Second is about ganglionic blocker. Third is about reserpine. Fourth is about adrenergic receptor antagonist. Coming to the vasodilator, again four category of drugs: potassium channel openers, nitric oxide releases, dopamine agonist, calcium channel blockers, especially L-type calcium channel. The fourth one is about the drugs which decreasing the action of renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. So we have number one, beta 1 inhibitors which inhibiting the release of renin, and the second category we can give directly inhibit the renin, aliskiren and remikiren. The third category is angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, enalapril, lisinopril type of drugs. The fourth category is angiotensin 2 receptor blocker, losartan and valsartan. The fifth category is aldosterone antagonist, spironolactone and eplerenone. 5 category of drugs will come here. So this is about the hypertension. Okay, so this is that much easy chapter. You can remember anything. Right, coming to the match up following about antihypertensive drugs. So the drugs have to be associated with the adverse effect. What is the major adverse effect of captopril? Dry cough. The reason is bradykinin accumulation. Minoxidil, hirsutism in young females. Methyl dopa, sedation. Reserpine, severe depression. So answer is first one. Coming to the second one, match the following antihypertensive drugs and their mechanism of action. So number one, prazosin. Prazosin selectively blocks alpha 1 blocker. Yes, it is an alpha 1 blocker. What about hydralazine? Hydralazine is arterial vasodilator. Verapamil, calcium channel blocker. Losartan, angiotensin receptor blocker. So answer is third option. Right. The next question is about the patient who take enalapril be the best first line agent for high blood pressure control. Which patient? So enalapril is an AC inhibitors. AC inhibitors are contraindicated in renal failure, pregnant, and patients who have hyperkalemia because it itself causes hyperkalemia. So but for a diabetic patient, AC inhibitors is the best drug. So answer is D. Arrange in sequence the direct cardio-depression action from least to the most. So the cardio-depression action is maximum for nifedipine and minimum for the verapamil. So answer is C. The next question is about all the following statements are true except. They are asking about which is the incorrect statement, right? So the first is about centrally acting sympatholytic agent is clonidine. Yes, it is right. Clonidine is a centrally acting sympatholytic agent, alpha 2 agonist, which decrease the sympathetic activity. Labetalol is contraindicated in pregnancy. No, you can give labetalol for a pregnancy patient. As such, there is no contraindication. So it is a wrong statement. Sodium nitroprusside directly stimulates cyclic AMP. No, sodium nitroprusside which indirect stimulates the enzyme called as guanyl cyclase. This guanyl cyclase which releases the nitric oxide. So this is a wrong statement. Oral renin inhibitors are aliskiren and remikiren. Yes, it is right. Prazosin is the treatment of choice for patient with a hypertension and benign hyperplasia of prostate. Yes, it is also right. In a patient who have both hypertension and benign hyperplasia of the prostate, you can give the prazosin. So the second and third statement is a wrong statement. So you can go for the third option. Coming to the assertion, angiotensin receptor blockers causes more cough and angioedema compared to the AC inhibitors. Is it right? No. Generally AC inhibitors which produces more cough. Angiotensin receptor blocker produces less cough. So first statement is wrong. Angiotensin receptor blockers have no effect on bradykinin metabolism. Yes, it is right. It is right. So what will be your answer? So assertion is independently an incorrect statement, but reason is a correct statement. So answer is D. Hope you got in very important concepts and facts related to the antihypertensive drugs clearly. Thank you for watching.